Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Reality Roundup. I'm Maddie. That's Mariama. This episode, we will be talking about episode 5 of the season of the Challenge All Stars Rivals. I was missing for a few episodes, but I'm back.
Yeah.
hmm
I said you were off traveling the world.
Not technically wrong, yes. Getting sick is more like it. Well, getting sick while on vacation sucks, but how are you doing, friend?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Do I still sound like I'm stuffed up?
Now that you mentioned it, just a little bit, but it's not that bad.
Okay. Okay, well then we are all good. Are we ready to talk about this episode, which I rather did enjoy?
Yeah, let me know your
Mhm.
thoughts. What were your first thoughts?
First of all, I don't know what's going on with the music soundtrack this season, but when they hit me with the "Kiss Me Through the Phone," I
Did they
literally
play
was
Kiss Each Other? I didn't notice.
yes, they did at the very beginning of the episode, with our like little montage of people talking to their
Oh, I
families.
must have been like looking away writing or like, yeah, I may have been like on my phone or
Yeah,
looking away writing.
I
That's,
like
yeah, that's so funny.
I like was like, wait a minute, what? And then I looked up and then MTV has a little music marker at the bottom and it was like kiss me through the phone. And I was like, what is going on?
Dang, I gotta go rewatch it because I'm sad I missed that. Six,
I
seven, eight,
honestly
triple nine, eight, two, one, two.
too. It was literally so funny.
The music, you
Um,
have to watch All Star Season 1. The music,
mhm,
like especially in All Star Season 1 where it was like much older players, like
mhm,
seasons 1 through like 12.
mhm.
It was like a really nostalgic vibe. The soundtrack was like crazy good. It
Oh
was
my
so
gosh.
good.
It is so good. Like they hit me with Kiss Me to the Phone. And there was something else that like I heard at one point in time. It might have been a different episode where it was like, oh, it was episode 4 with the Thousand Miles song with the
Mhm.
and I was like, what is going on right now? They saved all of the challenge
Oh
music
man,
budget
I
for
didn't want to
this.
I didn't want to like ruin it for you, but like when you hear Britney Spears Toxic come on, you're going to lose it. Like
I honestly love it. It made me so, so happy. And it was accompanied by a montage of people talking to their loved ones at home.
yeah, wait, is this where Oh, yes. I do have multiple news segments. But challenge breaking news, not really.
Mhm.
Nani and Casey are no longer together.
Oh,
Yeah. So they were together during this, and obviously Casey was on there being very supportive and very
do we know
loud.
what happened?
I don't particularly care. You can look it up for yourself.
Oh
I don't
my.
follow this show outside of like watching the episodes
Yeah.
now, but this is something that came across
Oh
my little situation.
no.
I'm sure if I looked I could see, but I didn't actually do any research. I just was like,
Do we have
okay.
any other breaking news?
No, about Devin and Michelle now. I don't know. I'm
Oh
going to
my
assume
gosh.
they're
Oh
still
my gosh.
together.
I was scared. I was scared. Oh my gosh. They're they continue to grow on me. They seem very cute.
I absolutely despise both of them.
And
So
then I also said Leroy and Dario are in love. And then, of course, I ate my own words through the course of this episode.
Leroy is in love with Cam, who we also saw. You haven't met Cam yet, but um, you'll meet her at some point in the future.
Oh my gosh, those babies were so cute.
Yes, Kingston is very cute.
Oh my gosh.
I don't really know the new baby like that, but we know Kingston.
I don't think they know the new baby like that yet either. But
I
he
think
would,
her name is
oh,
Aria. It's so cute.
I think so. They were so cute. I was like, I love this. And we don't really get that so much on the challenge, I don't think. Like this kind of montage talking to loved one situation.
Certainly not montaged in the way it was
hmm
today, but we get the conversations for sure, especially if in those cases where it's a challenger with another challenger. We also heard from Avery. We can't leave her out playing
Oh
stepmom to
yes.
Adam's kids.
They I
Where's Adam's ex-wife? Because I need to hear
I
from
don't
her.
know why I thought Adam was gay. I know you've told me this 1,000 times that he's with Avery, but I don't know why I thought the man was gay. But it was
um,
they seem to be happy.
it's a cute little moment.
Mhm.
I didn't expect to see Avery with Adam's kids, like by her lonesome like that. Like
It
That
does
took
seem
me
like
by
she was
surprise.
taking care of them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that took me by surprise. It seems like they're living with her and not their mother while their father is out of the country.
Well, well.
Well, well,
How long have
well.
they been together? Do we know?
They started dating on season 4 of All Stars, so probably less than a year. But to the
Less
point
than
of
a year.
filming, to the point of filming, yeah.
Well, to the point of filming means less than a year because this is a montage of Avery and she's at home with the kids.
That's why I'm surprised.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, I need to dig into that a little bit.
Mhm. Yep. I was
Yes.
surprised to find out the extent of Leroy and Dario's friendship because I don't think I knew they had a friendship, nor that they were that close, that they were talking daily outside of the show.
Yes. Like, I think he refers to, I think Leroy refers to Dario as his brother.
Yeah, they both say
Um,
it at some point.
yeah, which is like really unfortunate for the way the rest of this episode goes.
Oh, I don't dislike anything about this episode. Well, I
Well,
do
I,
dislike some things, but like that ain't one of it.
of course, in no way am I surprised that that's not part of what you dislike about this episode.
um, I want to say so. Yeah, Dario, you got it. We talked on the phone. These are my notes. I'm just checking now. I go talking to loved ones back home, and Dario and Leroy are BFF. The next thing that we have is we do see Sam and Frank working out, and it looked bleak for my sister Sam. Like Shawty couldn't get the bike together. And I was like, oh, is this like a little foreshadowing? Like, I'm like, we're getting a lot of Sam and Frank content, especially like we're getting content to be like, Sam might not be ready physically for the game ahead. And we're getting ready to go into a challenge and an elimination. I was really scared for them.
I was
Cause,
also kind of scared for them. I mean, Frank is clearly incredibly diabolical. Like in every confession, he is leaning forward, whispering into the camera like Count Olaf, and I'm actually kind of frightened. They spent a lot of time focusing on Sam not being able to get that bike together, which did definitely feel like foreshadowing. But I guess it was to build false foreshadowing, really.
yeah, well, I mean, I think looking at the episode in hindsight, we get like lots of content of both Devin and Leroy talking to their loved ones. We get
Yeah.
Sam and Frank struggling. We get Leroy talking about his relationship with Dario. Like, so looking back in hindsight, they were definitely dropping crumbs. We were just misreading the tea leaves.
Yes,
Uh,
absolutely.
but let's just get to the challenge. So today's challenge is called Sunday Funday. And in this challenge, they essentially play the newlywed game. They're asked a series of questions about
Hmm.
their rival, and then one of
Hmm.
them has to answer and match with how that rival would have answered about themselves.
Hmm.
Very boring challenge. I don't know. Like if well, I
I
guess
liked
the
it.
thing is the thing that I didn't explain is if they miss a question, then they would get have to pour a shot of something into their vanilla milkshake that would make it more
Oof.
gross. I think we had ketchup, we had durian,
Mayonnaise, balsamic
mayonnaise,
vinegar.
balsamic vinegar. So I think there were only 4 questions. At least I only wrote 4 down, but they were asked about their astrological sign. They were asked which team they thought were the least trustworthy, which teams they thought were the weakest, their
Hmm.
rivals' is weakness, what they thought their rival would answer as their weakness,
Yeah.
and then maybe one
Who
or two more.
was the person in the back was answering and the person in the front had to match,
Yeah,
right?
it had to match.
Okay. Yeah.
So we actually saw Sam and Frank do really well. They only missed one. They missed the question where the punishment was durian. And
What a question to miss.
if you watch Rivals 2, you know that Frank has a history with durian. But
And they
um
certainly showed us the history as well.
yeah, and they did really really well this challenge. I think the other team that did kind of well was like Veronica and Katie,
Mm,
and then Dario and Ashley Cade looked like they were poised to do really well, but everybody kind of missed around the same number of questions except for like Amber and Fessy and like Devin and Leroy that were like missed. I felt like more than everybody else, and Stephen
I
Adam,
think so.
but
Nasty.
what happened after they asked all of their questions and mixed their shake up?
Well, you had to sit with your partner, two straws, grease style, and drink the entirety of the shake. And whoever finished, it was order of finishing. But then we had to weigh the cups, I guess,
Yeah,
because
so TJ said whichever team finished first would win, finish their shake first. But then later on, he was like, "We're gonna consult the camera because so many people finished so close to get together." And then
yeah.
after they consulted the camera, he was like, "Yeah, we're gonna have to weigh these glasses because some of y'all didn't actually finish your shake. It's just sitting in the straw." And I was like, oh, "Okay."
Which T?
So
I mean, TJ said, I want a winner.
yeah, so they weighed the glasses, and our winners were
Frank and Sam.
Frank and Sam from worst place to first place, um, just like that. Now, I was like, okay, cool. I wasn't ready for the rest of this. So after we get our winners, we go
Hmm.
to the bar and everybody's
Hmm.
out partying. We get some strategy talk. Um,
Yeah.
our sister Nicole comes up to Frank and is like, "Hey, if Adam and Steve are going to continue to be the house vote, it's time we put in some strong star holding teams against them.
Yeah.
Why not Nani and Turbo?" And to that I say, Nicole, like, why would you suggest that? The only other male, you're on an all female team. There's a male male pair in elimination. The only other male male pair also has a star. Like,
She was not, I don't know what she was thinking or if she was.
she was thinking down the right line. Right, you know, I always say, right problem, wrong answer. Nicole did the right. She identified the issue and then she just
Yes.
solved the wrong. She solved it and got the answer incorrect.
Okay,
Um,
Tom Sandoval.
then we see a group. This was where the rest of the source of drama in this episode comes from. Dario, Corey Lay, and Fessy are talking, and they're kind of like, "Hey, Corey, I think, is basically saying, let's just make sure Adam and Steve are the house vote and then let Frank do the dirty work of getting Devin and Leroy. It's clear that Corey also wants Devin and Leroy in this
Hmm.
elimination. Like, he's not advocating for another team to convince Frank to put somebody else in. And then Dario just plain says, "What are we talking about? Just go tell Frank to put in Devin and Leroy. Why are we going to hope that he does it? Let's just go suggest."
Oh my God, Dario, my goodness. We just got this montage. Well, not montage. We got all this
I'm
information
not
about you
I'm
and
not
Leroy.
mad at Dario. Now I do want to talk about like the implications of like Dario, especially like being shown his relationship to Leroy. I'm not
Hmm.
particularly upset at Dario in this. I'm more angry at Corey. Like, Corey, you're saying the same thing and then you just go and like tell Devin. It gets to, I always have criticisms in each of these episodes about the
Hmm.
show at large. It gets into one of my like key criticisms of the challenge since the 30s is,
Hmm.
we'll wait. We'll get there when we get there. But
Oh,
Corey next morning ends up letting Devin know what's going on, and then what do we see happen from here, Miss Maddie?
well, Devin is like, what the hell? Like Dario and Leroy are best friends to my knowledge. This doesn't make any sense, but like, let me go tell Leroy, right? So he goes and he tells Leroy, and Leroy's like, Dario would not do this to me. And so then Leroy goes to Dario and is like, what's going on? And Devin joins in that conversation and basically is like, oh, so you're a liar, right? Like you are lying, like that's what's happening. And then I don't remember who starts knocking if you bucking first, but Devin and Dario get angry with each other, arguing, fighting, all that jazz. And they get face to face where Devin does say, "Oh, your breast stinks," which I thought was hilarious. I'm not even going to lie. But they just get very aggy with each other. Dario keeps saying, like, you're not a tough guy, you're not a tough guy. Devin makes a crack about not being in the same tax bracket, and that's kind of where we leave
Devin
it.
looked like such a loser to me in all of this. Um,
Really?
yeah, like, I one Dario and Leroy are having a conversation, and obviously, again, we know they're very tight. And Devin inserts himself to like manufacture this like drama. What I don't like, and this was my issue with one of my issues with this episode, and I think it's like um evident of like the larger issue with the challenge in its current state, is veteran challenge players like Devin, like Nani, being like offended at the thought of someone suggesting like that they may be targeted for a strategic outcome that benefits that person, if you understand what I'm saying. Like, I
I think
understand
so.
Devin's not upset because he feels personally betrayed by Dario. He's upset because he knows that the power dynamics of the house will be flipped and he's in the power position. That's all it is. Dario is making the correct strategic read and the correct strategic move. You can say that maybe he shouldn't have made it because Leroy is such a close friend of his. And I think Leroy is correct to say it's not enough to not just say my name. You can't also be like, right, like you have
Yeah,
to also be actively like keeping me out of the thing. It's not enough to just be like, I'm not the one throwing you in. I understand that. That's fine for Leroy and Dario to feel that way. I also think knowing like the type of player that Leroy is, I don't think this is something that would affect his friendship with Dario outside of here. Like he's hurt in the moment and he's like, dang
yeah,
bro, like
same.
how could you do me like that? But like ultimately, like they're probably still talking on the phone every day today. um One, Devin looked corny. He tried to like manufacture, and I do think Devin largely is like doing this for our benefit at home. He tried to like manufacture this like high drama moment for the television show. Um, it just didn't give for me. Like none of it gave. Him bragging about his championship Mickey Mouse ring. It don't really give. Like
Oh,
it's it doesn't really impress me. I
I
also
think that's
think
fair.
this was the perfect. I think like the story like of Devin this season is that like he honestly like as many times as he's been in confessional this season and previous seasons talking about what a political mastermind he is, what a maestro he is, and how he's just this big brain strategist that nobody can compete with. I'm like you weren't here, but on my episode 3 recap, one thing that I mentioned is Frank is actually playing the game that Devin keeps talking to us about in confessional. This like
Ooh,
this
T.
strategic mastermind pulling the strings. And let it be noted too, Devin and Leroy will get thrown in by Frank and Sam. But I did note in my notes that Adam wanted Frank and Sam in the first elimination all the way back in episode 2 when Devin and Leroy had power. Or whatever, whenever like Devin and Leroy
Hmm.
had power multiple times. Adam wanted them in episode 2 when Fessy and Amber had power, and in episode 3 when Devin and Leroy had power, and they ended up refusing because they're protecting Frank and Sam, not because they just love Frank and Sam so much. They
Yeah.
understand that Frank and Sam are weak, and if they can get them to the end, that's one team you don't have to worry about in the final. You're going to beat them
Yes.
clearly.
Yes.
So they're saving their lambs, fattening them up for the slaughter, and let it be known that that it is Frank and Sam who end up throwing Devin and Leroy in and
Yeah.
having them like meet their demise ultimately.
Oh my gosh. Frank is a huge, I think that's a very good point that um the game that Devin is talking about is what Frank is actually doing. I think that's an excellent point because every confessional we get of Frank is a 13-point plan to do X, Y, and Z. And largely to our knowledge, he's perfectly executed it.
And the thing is, it's not transparent. Like Devin is hoarding power. He's holding counsel. When he gets power, he's pulling people. Well, tell me what you want, then I'm gonna do my thing. And it is a very showy game. It gets you a lot of airtime. I will say the interesting thing about Frank is we haven't seen Frank in these strategic conversations in the house with people, right? All we see is we see
Mm,
Adam and Steve get voted in. They're like, we want Frank and Sam, and the people are like, yeah, 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 okay, that makes sense. Let us mull it over. And then somebody else gets thrown in. But then we see a flashback of Frank sitting down with that person and going, no, you should throw. Frank is the reason that Sylvia and John A get thrown in. It kind of makes it seem like Frank is also the reason. Who else got thrown in at Frank's behest this season?
Sylvia and
Uh,
Kellyanne?
no, I just said that Sylvia and Kellyanne. Oh yeah, yeah, and Beth and John A. So
Yeah.
yeah, so Frank is the reason that Beth and John A get thrown in when Fessy and Amber win, and then he's also the reason that Kellyanne and Sylvia get thrown in on a day where Devin and Leroy won. That's the one I was talking about, episode 3, where Devin and
Mhm.
Leroy won. Um, Adam wants Frank again, and Frank and Sam, Frank specifically gets Kellyanne and Sylvia thrown in. That was the episode where
Mm-mm-mm.
we started the episode with Kellyanne confiding in him, and then he had that conversation like, "Daddy, will never vote you out," and then like ultimately leads to her getting voted in. I will say
Oh,
Devin
Frank.
Devin is a fine strategist. He's a fine puzzler on these shows, but there's levels to this. There's Wes, there's Ashley, and then there's Devin. Like
Mm.
there's level to it of that sort of archetype of like strategic forces to be reckoned with that are also like super smart and just execute in puzzles really well. I think for Devin to make his living on the challenge in that way, his track record is not really like his track record on the show, his successes on the show is not really an indicator of how good he is politically or at
Yeah.
puzzles. It's really how connected he has been in his most recent seasons. His
Yes.
first season is a season of luck. Like he makes it to the final because of luck. And then his seasons since then, he's been either eliminated or the ones where he hasn't been eliminated, he's been deeply insulated or greatly insulated by Tori. Let's just call a spade, by Tori and her relationships and
Absolutely.
her ability to win daily challenges and
Hmm.
like hold power in the game.
That's what we see on 40. I mean, she literally says, I'm like, even when Devin is gone, she's carrying water for Devin, right? Like that's where she makes some decisions about bananas. So, I mean, yes, I think you're completely correct.
I had some complaints about Nani at the house vote, but I'll let it go. I've already said the thing. I'll get into my Corey Lay rant. But before we do that, um,
Hmm.
we let's just fast forward. I'm gonna yada yada the whole house vote piece. Adam and Steve go in. We get to the jungle,
Yes.
and we give Frank. And what did you think was gonna happen tonight? Because I was genuinely surprised. Like the edit definitely like got me.
Oh, that it completely got me. I really thought it was going to be, oh, well, I did not think at all that it was going to be Devin and Leroy at the end of the day. I don't know who I thought it was going to be though.
The teams that I honestly thought were most at risk were either Devon and Shane, because there were two things in the challenge
Hmm.
where they asked about the least trustworthy and the weakest, and I think Devon or Shane specifically answered those two, Frank and Sam, and then
Hmm.
um Shane has a confessional where he's like, I just don't trust Frank, like da 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 da. And Frank's like, they think I'm the least trustworthy. And then Nicole also had a thing with her and Melissa where again Nicole was the one answering the questions. No, no, no. Melissa was the one answering, but Nicole had to fill out on the
Hmm.
blackboard, and she is honest in one of them where she answers something about Frank, and Melissa's like, "Oh my God, Nicole, shut up! Like, we don't want these people to know." And then, like, like just
Yes,
play it safe, basically. So I was like, okay, Shane and Nicole have sort of like lifted their heads up and put themselves on Frank's radar as people who may not trust him, who may not want to work with him, who may not like him.
fair
Um,
enough.
but it seems like he's cool with their partners to some degree. And so I was like, oh, maybe he throws in like a Shane or a Nicole here um, to sort of get rid of one of the people that might be working against him in the future.
Yeah,
I did not expect him to make this move, and I was like super excited. And honestly, when he made the move, I was kind of excited for Devin and Leroy to go home, even though Leroy is one of my most favorite players ever.
mm,
But I was really excited for Devin and Leroy to go home because I just wanted it to work out for Frank. I wanted him to call the shot and then have the people that he sent in go home so they can't
yeah,
retaliate against him in the next episode. And I'm excited to see like sound strategical play because it would be
yeah.
easy for Frank and Sam here to go. Devin and Leroy have been nice to us. They've been our friends. They've protected us twice. Like and not just go. Fuck it. We got to do what we got to do. We got to get to that 300K.
Do you think this sounds kind of mean, but do you think Sam is participating in as much of the
Mm-mm.
um okay,
I
never
think Frank.
mind.
I think Sam is agreeing. I think like it. Actually, I take that back. I'll take that back because at the end of episode 3, we did get that little. notebook. Was it episode 3 or episode 4? We got
I think four.
Sam coming up with that notebook and going, this is everybody that's been eliminated. Here I am.
Hmm.
I'm mapping out their relationships. I'm mapping out like, the people who are protected, the people who aren't, like all of those
Yeah.
sort of like strategic things. And
Do you
Frank's
think
like, oh
somebody
my
finds
god.
the notebook?
I don't know. And I think I don't particularly, I haven't thought about it honestly. And we see Frank being like, "Oh, this is great. Can you do this? Can you index it? Can you add this, that, and the
Hmm.
third?" So it seems like they're probably more strategically aligned than we're seeing. I think Frank is probably just a better confessionalist, and
Hmm.
is probably just more like, he's probably like the better salesman of like their strategic game for the sake of editing.
Yeah.
Um, I also think it kind of behooves Sam for people to think that she's just kind of following along in the case that if these rival pairs get split up and it becomes an individual game at
Ooh.
some point, they're probably more angry at Frank than they are her.
Well, yeah, Frank is the face of the operation, of course. So, he's
It'll
the
also protect her for the next season as well too. If she comes, well, we know she's not on 41, but if she plays All Stars again, these people are not going to be as angry at
yeah,
her as they
because
were.
Frank is the face of the operation. Good for you, Sam.
So let's get into the challenge. I mean the elimination round.
The elimination, yes. It was called Over a Barrel, which I thought was funny. And it involved a puzzle, but also like you had to like move these barrels. So you have like a rope that you have to circus your way through by using your feet to push the barrel to the other side, and then you have to solve a math problem where all three sides of the triangle have to equal the barrel that's already placed in the middle, and you and your partner, like, you're switching sides, so your barrel's on the other side, blah blah blah, and then you both have to
Yeah.
solve it in order to win.
What did you think here?
First of all, I think I don't know who says it. It might be Corey, it might be no, it might be Big T or Melissa. Somebody says that Adam is so nimble with the barrel. And he was. I was like, oh my gosh, the
I
circus is in town.
I thought this would be very, very close with a slight edge to Devin and Leroy just because I thought they're younger, they're
Hmm.
quicker, and this will be, 18 barrels is a lot. These are some old men. We saw we saw Steve in bed with the muscle
The
patches
Thames
on.
device.
Um,
His Thames device. I was like, work.
like just like I'm not going to that party. I gotta sleep. But no, I
Adam had some
definitely
sort of respiratory infection.
I thought they would fare worse. I also kind of think they look like large, heavy men. And I thought, oh, like they
Well,
might struggle just trying to like stay balanced, and Devin and Leroy will probably be a little bit better at this. I thought Leroy would be a lot better at this too than
Adam was
all
doing
than
circus
than
tricks.
all four. Adam was so good. Like
Yeah.
he was vertical the entire time. Everybody else had a little lean. They were struggling to find a balance.
Hmm.
Adam
Hmm.
would get on that barrel, and I think one thing that he really did really well is getting that rope under his arm to have
Absolutely.
weight on the rope versus trying to like maneuver like
Yes.
lifted. We saw people getting off balance and having to like hang and hold themselves up
Hmm. Hmm.
way more. He was really good. He had the strategy for that, although he didn't know what the second part of the challenge was asking him to do.
That happens to either once in episode four or I think it might be twice in episode five, where somebody just seems to not be paying attention to the
Yeah,
directions.
Adam just didn't know what was going on. But I must say, the person I was most impressed with here was Steve. Like, Steve did really well on the barrels, not as good as Adam, but I didn't expect him to do well on the barrel at all, actually. Um,
I didn't think anyone
and
was gonna do.
he solves his puzzle like quick. Like he
Hmm.
just runs through it and then runs over and solves Adam's puzzle too. And I started like literally after I watched the episode, I went and pulled up like Steve's like wiki page for the challenge because I was like, if Steve was also really really good last season of the challenge, and he was one like brain fart away from winning. Like he just had a brain fart and lost.
Oh, we see that flashback.
Yeah, and I won't I
Hmm.
won't spoil it for you, but like Yeah, he has a brain fart and he loses. He was like, he was an elimination beast. He also went in a lot of eliminations last season. He was an elimination beast, and he gets to the final. He was really good in the final. Made a mental error and then just lost. And I was like, not for nothing, like, especially with Devin and Leroy out, maybe Adam and Steve can avoid the elimination once, like for 1 week. Like, I feel like they're sitting about as pretty as everyone else. And I also think like for they're likely not gonna see Fessy and Amber in an elimination. I don't think Fessy and Amber want that smoke. I don't think Turbo and Nani want that smoke. Like, right? I think if either of those two teams win, they're not throwing themselves down versus Adam and Steve to get a star. Like, I don't think
Especially
they're
now that we've seen Adam and Steve win as many times as we have in
yeah, I don't think they're
elimination.
risking it for a star against this pair. So I think
Yeah.
like no, my thoughts really was I'm very impressed with Steve, and I think if he would have participated in the challenge more throughout like the years, like we might
Mm-hmm.
be talking about his legacy on the challenge a lot differently. Which
Oh.
is to say we weren't talking about it at all, and we might actually have some really nice things to
Yes,
say.
that's valid. That's completely fair. I mean, those two old men, they put their little headbands on and they go into any elimination and they just figure it out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was really good.
It was.
It was really good. Now to talk about my grievances with the episode, the only real problems that I had with this episode, Corey Lay, and I talked about like the way like these players, the players who are in like the power broker positions are reacting to the idea of other players in the game even wanting them in an elimination round. It's ridiculous. I think it ruins the show. Like I think if you like
What
when
do you mean?
someone for me, what I want to see on the show, when someone throws your name out, if you're Nani or Turbo, if you're Devin and Leroy, and someone comes to you and says, "Hey, Dario is throwing your name out there," I don't want to see a conversation between you and Dario where you try to guilt him and like call him a snake or a bad person for like possibly wanting you in an elimination round that you may or may not win. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Especially when it makes the most like perfect strategic sense for his like future in the game. Um, Clock in, go to work, throw him in. Like
Knew you were gonna
why?
say it.
Like if you know you and Sam have you and Frank and Sam have such a good relationship, this is where you go in. Hey, I've taken care of you. I've saved you 2 times now. Like we've had power 2 times and you've been protected and you know you're safe with us. I want you in the end. I owe you. You owe me one. And actually, remember how you got to call the shot when I won and send in Sylvia and Kelly in? I'm gonna need Dario and Ashley K to go in. Like I want to see like players battling it out strategically versus like standing. And I think so much of the challenge now has
Mm,
become like these moments of drama, of arguments and fights. It's not entertaining. It's not entertaining.
mm,
Also, the other issue that I have with what seems to be a developing meta of the game, if you are a weak team or a middle tier team, it sort of seems like now how these people have been playing it is you don't upset the status quo with the hope that the strong players take you as their layup to the end and you come in third place. We saw it on
mm.
Battle of the Era where everybody kind of just rolled over for Jay and Michelle and voted their way. We saw Mariah do that. We saw James do that. We saw Emmanuel and Berna do that. We saw like barely and then try to upset the thing. We saw Corey actually do that by inexplicably throwing Big T under the bus. That's how they became rivals. And there's a phrase because I've been watching like older seasons, like episodes at a time here and
Mm-hmm.
there of the challenge, and I've seen episodes from X's two and Rivals two and Free Agents and a bunch of different ones,
Yeah.
and there was a time on the challenge where like I want to see strategy. Like I just want to see people strategizing, holding strategic conversations, making it make sense for the people in the league or in the show, promising people stuff, whether you plan to deliver on it or not, to push your agenda versus just being like, hey, we're friends. You owe me one, right? You know you owe me because we're friends outside of this.
I
Like
see what you mean.
you can't say my name or else it's a bad thing. Like no, like make it make sense for the people in the game. And on the thing of like I'm glad that Frank and Sam made this move here. It's the correct move because if they don't make this move, who knows when they have another opportunity to get Devin and Leroy versus an Adam and Steve ever. That opportunity probably never comes back up in the game. And
See.
in their current position, which they were in a good position, I think they've actually made their position better. In their current position pre-challenge, they're sitting as the weak team that Devin and Leroy want to drag to the end along with the other strong teams so they can have somebody to beat up on easily,
Hmm.
right? If you're in that position, if you're Frank and Sam, your best bet is not to go to the finals with Turbo and Nani, Fessy and Amber, and Devin and Leroy and get fourth place. Your best opportunity at 300K is to get rid of those teams by pitting them against each other. And if you're sitting there with Davon and Shane and Melissa and Nicole
Hmm.
or who else? Veronica and Katie, that's
Hmm.
your opportunity at 300K. This was
To
this
actually win.
and this rarely happens. Like Frank and Sam were sitting. If anybody knows this, Frank and Sam were sitting in the Emmy position on Spies Lies, where Emmy like thwarted all of the rookie plans to usurp the veteran power in the House, so she can go to the end and lose, instead of working with Michaela on that first vote and possibly getting two vets in there and dwindling the vets' number and giving the rookies the numbers advantage for the rest of the game to send the vets into elimination at will. She disrupted not just Michaela's game, but all of, I think it was Spies Lies, maybe it was something else. But all of those Spies Lies, Double Agents, they all run together for me. Honestly, they're all boring. um, but no, I'm pretty sure it was Spies Lies. But or yeah, but Emmy decided to be the veteran's pet rookie and pacify all rebellion and actively run information back to veterans who were more loyal to each other than they were to her through the end of the game to end up in the final and lose and then say some racist shit and get a lifetime ban. So hey,
Oh,
praise God for
hey.
that.
Okay, fair enough, fair enough, fair enough.
Praise God for that. But
We love to see it.
yeah, like this is what she should have done. She should have gotten with Corey and Michaela and whoever else was conspiring against the vets. I think Michelle was in there in that mix. She should have gotten with all of them and went, yeah. And I think she even had opportunities in the mid game with the other rookie pairs that were in the game, the Tachas and the whomever else is. And
Well,
just
you want people to try to win, right? Like
yeah,
that's instead of
I want everybody playing for a win
yes.
and not three teams playing for win and six teams playing to be one of the teams that loses to the teams playing for a win.
Yes. I think that's completely fair. And I think that does change the if people are looking to not win, but just kind of be there at the end and catch the crumbs, if you will, that does change the trajectory of how people strategize in the game, right? Like if you are not trying to win and you're just like basically not trying to go home too
Mm-hmm.
early, that is significantly different. I think that's completely fair.
Yeah. Um. Anything else from this episode for you, Maddie?
No. I just have F off Dario as my last note for the
Yeah.
episode.
I love this. I like this move for Dario. It's not a bad move. I think I had different thoughts on this when I was watching it. Because I was like, yeah, like this is the one instance because I don't put a lot of like value on like protecting your friends in the game. I actually hate that. I think that's ruined the game. We used to have a
Hmm.
different phrase before protect your friends. It was earn your stripes. I missed that era. Let's bring back earn your stripes era.
I love that.
um,
Honestly, I love that.
but this is the one instance where I do think that like if like Dario and Leroy are the one instance of like friends backstabbing each other that was actually like a betrayal. Most of the time
Yeah,
that
that's
wasn't
why I
a
wrote
betrayal.
that because I was like, this seems like Leroy seems genuinely upset about this.
Yeah, it was an
Um,
unnecessary betrayal because you're both kind of sitting pretty and you could beat them in a final. You probably not, but like you could go and just compete against them in the final and like
yeah.
and maybe get second place or whatever. But
Yeah,
like, hey, it's a difference. There's a difference between first and second. So it is what it
that
is.
is true. That is true.
Well, thank you guys for watching. This has been the Reality Roundup. Please check the description box below to see the rest of our playlist on the challenge All Stars Battle, no, All Stars Rivals.
All Stars
Ba-
Battle of the Arrows Rivals. Yes, exactly.
Mhm,
Hmm.
as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share. Thank you. Bye bye.